form of backbiting. As long as the person, he does it in order to just describe him. And we'll see this, inshallah, in one of the future episodes. Any more examples, Guru?
More examples, to maybe mention a bad character about somebody.
Yes. He's bad-tempered. He's bad-tempered. He doesn't have good... even to say that he backbites other people, the person's falling into backbiting. In fact, if someone asks you something and he says, what do you know about this person? And he repeats, he says, he replies by saying, I don't want to backbite him. He has fallen into backbiting. And so this leads me to the next thing. What is the definition of backbiting? Who knows? What's the definition?
Is it when someone says something bad about another person behind his or her back?
Yes and no. You've touched part of the definition. And many people, they actually think that backbiting means just what you said. And that's actually a misconception. The Prophet ﷺ, he asked the Sahaba, he said, do you know what is backbiting? And the companions replied, Allah and His Messenger ﷺ know best. And upon that, the Prophet ﷺ said, backbiting is to talk about your brother in a manner which he does not like. To mention your brother in a manner that he doesn't like. So it's slightly different to what you said, in that it means if the person doesn't like it, it's backbiting. Whether it's done in front of him or behind his back. Unless the person's giving advice or he's trying to change an evil. And we'll see some of the exceptions to be given in a future episode, inshallah. So sometimes when backbiters are advised to give up such a bad habit, they reply that they're only telling the truth. And this is exactly what some of the Sahaba said. It's exactly what some of the Sahaba thought. They asked the Prophet ﷺ, suppose that there are actual faults in the one that I'm talking about. Now what would you say to that, Gulras?
That even if you tell the truth?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I say, he's so bad-mannered, he speaks badly about, other people, and maybe he is like that.
Even if it's true, the person will still not like for you to mention that behind his back.
Yes, because the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, he said, if what you say about your brother is true, then that is backbiting. Imagine that. If you speak truthfully about that person, then that is backbiting. But if what you say concerning him is not true, فَقَدْ بَهِتَّ, you have in fact committed buhtan, which is slander against him. So what's the difference between backbiting and slander?
Backbiting is what is true, and slander is what is not true.
Yes. If you backbite the person, it's true. If you slander him, it's something that's not true. But the common link between them is, the person does not like what you're saying about him. And this is a common link. The Prophet ﷺ explained here in this hadith that when you backbite, it's mentioning the faults of a person, even though it's true. And slander is to mention something that is not true of him. Now, Al-Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah, one of the great scholars of the past, he said in his book Al-Athkar, and I quote, he says, mentioning about your brother something that he would dislike includes what concerns his body, his religious practice, his worldly station, his physical appearance, his moral character, his wealth, his parents, his children, his spouse, his servant, his clothing, his activities, his smiles and frowns, and anything else that pertains to him. So you can imagine how dangerous it is and how easy it is for us to fall into this evil sin. It doesn't matter if you mention it, Imam An-Nawawi goes on to say, explicitly by word or implicitly by indication or by gesture. This includes the likes of saying, oh Allah, pardon us all. So somebody mentions him, he says, oh Allah, pardon us. So-and-so is coming, oh Allah, help us. God help us. Or saying, oh Allah, keep us safe. Even making dua to Allah in this manner, a person is fallen into backbiting. And some person, sometimes they utter these kind of phrases, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to backbite him, and this has become backbiting. So with this, inshallah, we'll take a break, and after the break, we'll touch more upon this. Wa sallallahu wasallam wa baraka ala nabina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
And people need each other's, need scholars more than they need to drink and eat. Because even regarding what we drink and eat, we may not be able to figure out which is permissible and which is not. Quran is not preserved in the books only. The seerah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is not preserved in the books only, but in the hearts of men, in the hearts of people who have devoted their time to seeking knowledge. Believe and trust, tawakkul, that none could take place without the knowledge of Allah.
Welcome back. Before the break we were talking about backbiting, and we said that backbiting is mentioning your brother in a way that he doesn't like, as the Prophet ﷺ said.
Does that mean you can backbite someone whilst you're in front of them as well?
This is a very, very good question, because this is what many people think, that backbiting actually means that you can't speak you can't speak about someone that he doesn't like behind his back, but if I say in front of him, that's okay. This is incorrect. Because the Prophet ﷺ did not actually mention this in the hadith. He said, what is ghiba? Ghiba is, or backbiting is, to mention your brother in a way that he dislikes. Whether that's in front or behind. In fact, this is why some of the scholars, when they gave the tafsir of the verse, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ, woe be to every humaza and lumaza. They said one of them, humaza and lumaza, one of them is the one who backbites in front of the person, and one of them is the one who backbites behind his back. And some scholars said actually one is a slanderer and one is a backbiter. So there's difference of opinion on who is cursed. So it's not allowed to actually backbite someone in front of him. In other words, mention him in a way that he doesn't like. Of course, this means in the presence of other people. But one can advise on these kind of things and joke around if people are okay with that.
Does the same go for slander as well?
Slander, taban, is not allowed at all. You can't slander someone because that involves lying. Unless it is clear to everybody that it's a joke. And the person himself doesn't mind that he's being mentioned in this manner. Okay, so for example, if there's someone tall, very tall, extremely tall, and as a joke someone says, hey, shorty. Okay, everybody knows he's not shorty. Okay, and the person himself doesn't mind it. In this case, it's fine to do that, because it's done in a joking manner. But if the person did mind, then of course it wouldn't be allowed. And we should look at the urf as well, the custom of the people, to judge that. Now, backbiting is a very evil sin in Islam. And we can take one example from the Sahaba, when one Sahabi criticized a man who had been punished for committing adultery. So he'd been punished for committing a major sin, adultery, and someone backbit this person. Now the Prophet ﷺ was traveling, and he passed by the carcass of a donkey. And he said, where are those two people who spoke badly about the one who committed adultery? Get down and eat from the flesh of this donkey. And they were surprised. They said, Ya Rasulullah, O Prophet of Allah ﷺ, who would eat this? It's a dead carcass, carcass of a donkey. He said, what the two of you have recently done by defaming the honor of your brother is far worse than eating from this. Allahu Akbar. Look how the Prophet ﷺ defended the honor of a person who was punished for committing adultery, one of the major sins in Islam. But yet, the Prophet ﷺ still criticized them and called this backbiting, and he said this was worse than eating the flesh of a dead donkey. Now if this is the case, what about backbiting people who have not committed a major sin? What about backbiting